what do you say we go to our favorite part of the show and end it, as always, with our Mount Rushmore?
Can you show that graphic again? Look at the second guy from the left. That's awesome. He looks like he's wearing a fake cap on his head. It's great.
It's glorious.
I love those graphics.
I know you do, buddy. I know you do. All right, let's get it started. Who is your number one guy on the Twins Mount Rushmore?
So this is a different one too. So it's really cool. I'm interested if we had to play our Mount Rushmore versus Mount Rushmores of anybody. This Mount Rushmore could compete with any Mount Rushmore that you put out there. It is there because you also get all of the old Washington team.
Yeah.
And so back in the day, the Twins franchise, but it goes back in the day. So I'm going to start in 1907 to 1927, Walter Johnson.
I mean, do you really have to say anything more than Walter Johnson? I mean, there is a reason why none of us have seen him pitch and know just how dominant, how great he was. Just truly a machine on the mound.
There was no Cy Young back in the day because he pitched against Cy Young.
Yeah.
And he was shoving it up against Cy Young, but he won 2 MVPs, an MVP 3, MVP 5, MVP 17, MVP 20, 417 victories, which is not the most in baseball because there was a guy called Cy Young. 2.17 ERA, pitching Triple Crown. He won it 3 times. This dude was incredible. Led Major League Baseball history in shutouts with 110. The Washington Senators that won the World Series in 24. Obviously, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest baseball players, if not arguably the greatest pitcher of all time.
It would have been great if there was a Cy Young Award while Cy Young was pitching, because Walter Johnson can say, "Look, I won the U Award." That would be awesome. All right.
Was it the...
What's that? I'm sorry, David. I didn't hear you.
What was his nickname? Is it the Big Train?
Yes.
Yes, the Big Train. How cool is that nickname?
I mean, I'd rather have the Big Unit, but Big Train's pretty good.
Big Train's pretty dang good. He was, I'm looking at this, 6'1", 200. For his age and stuff, they said he was a massive, huge pitcher.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good about myself.
Dude, that's only 1 inch taller than me and like 20 pounds lighter. He's not that big. All right. Next guy, a man who is known not only for his baseball prowess, but his pop culture reference. Hall of Famer Rod Carew. He converted.
Is that the line? He converted?
Hall of Famer.
And Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Song.
Rod Carew played 12 seasons for the Minnesota Twins. Absolutely crushed it. One of the best hitters of all time as a pure baseball hitter. Played 1,635 games. Hit 334 for the Twins. 468 extra base hits, 733 RBIs, 271 stolen bases. Was an all-star 12 times. He was there for 12 years. He was an all-star 12 times. He missed the all-star game 1 time his entire career because he finished with the California Angels at the end. But he was an MVP 1, MVP 5, 9, 4, 7, and then Rookie of the Year. Did everything. Hall of Famer in 91. Numbers retired for Minnesota. Just one of the pure hitters of all time. When you really talk about pure hitters, he kind of gets pushed down on that list a little bit when you talk about Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio, some of these pure hitters of all time. But the dude hit 330 for a career. And it's not like he had no pop. He had 92 home runs. But again, he was a pure hitter for pure hitter. And when you look across the league in the years, like there's a whole lot of black in his numbers, what he led the league in. On base and batting average. I mean, the dude hit 364, 388 one year. 388.
No, he ain't that good.
Good.
He's very, very underappreciated. Can you imagine if he played in New York, how much he'd be loved? I mean, we always talk about how Derek Jeter is overrated because he played in New York. I mean, Derek Jeter, great player, but wouldn't have been first ballot more votes than Griffey if he played in Minnesota. There ain't no chance in hell. He might not have even gotten in on the first ballot. He might have taken second or third ballot. Rod Carew, though.
I don't believe that, but yes.
All right, whatever. Yes, okay, he might have stayed on the first ballot if he was in Minnesota, but regardless, just underappreciated Rod Carew. All right, let's move on. Harmon Killebrew, the man who was on the logo.
He is the logo, isn't he?
I believe he
forgot about that. Harmon Killebrew, absolute just demon hitter. He is currently number 12th all time in home runs, 573. And you got to think how many times like he's been passed. So like I don't know what he was when he retired, but there, Bonds wasn't there, Pools wasn't there, A-Rod wasn't there, Griffey wasn't there, Tomei wasn't there, Sosa wasn't there. Mark McGwire wasn't there. Frank Robinson. I don't know if Frank Robinson was even there. He was probably had a Frank Robinson when he did. So he might have, like, when he retired, he might have been 3.
Yeah, something like that. He was really high. Really high when he retired.
I don't want to guess on that, but he had to have been up there. Absolutely incredible baseball player. Played every year besides his very last for Minnesota. Won an MVP, 13-time All-Star, obviously Hall of Famer. Talked about the home runs, 1,540 RBIs, 277 doubles. Led the American League home runs 6 times. MVP in 69, good year to be an MVP. And was an absolute beast.
Hey, Clippy Jones, can you play the video again? David, I want you to take a look at the video of Harmon Killebrew, and I want you to look at how his follow-through is and his swing, and tell me if he doesn't remind you of anybody. Maybe we're going to be on the same page, or maybe I'm just crazy, but just look at some of the stills. Does that remind you of anybody? His follow-through, the way he's looking at the ball?
Mickey Mantle.
Thank you. Okay, I thought that was crazy. Very, very similar to Mickey Mantle in a lot of ways. Look at that swing right there. That is the Mick.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. But like, he's a lot thicker than the Mick. He was a very large human being. I know my dad was a Minnesota fan. My dad's a Minnesota Twins kind of fan growing up, and I know him and Rod Carew he was huge fans of them.
Yep. All right. Next up, and one of my favorite players when I was a little kid, because unfortunately he didn't play long enough where I would see him in my teenage years, but Kirby Puckett, the man that I also always confused with the singer Wilson Pickett.
Did you really?
Puckett, Pickett, whatever.
Yeah, sure. So Kirby Puckett, if you don't know, unfortunately, career was cut very short. For how great of a baseball player he was. He only played 12 years. He is a Hall of Famer, without a doubt, if there was ever a Hall of Famer. So played 12 years. He was a 10-time All-Star, 6-time Gold Glover, batting title MVP, 2-time World Series champion, 6-time Silver Slugger. He was an MVP of the ALCS, Roberto Clemente Award winner. Overall, just incredible human being, incredible man. Led the league in hits 4 times. Could do it all. Could do absolutely everything. I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, he got hit in the eye.
Yeah.
And that turned into cancer.
I believe that's the case. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to, but yeah, something like that. He got hit in the eye, and then the eye ended up becoming a big problem and caused him to lose his sight, and a big problem. And, he died young, and it's a shame because, like you said, everybody had nothing but super nice things to say about him. Now, granted, I'm not going to just to be a dick, I'm just going to say it. Nobody ever talks ill of the dead. Very often, but still super, super nice guy from all accounts. And it's a shame that we lost him so young. But I just remember when I was a kid watching baseball and collecting baseball cards, and you just knew, oh, okay, who's going to be on the AL All-Star team? You're going to have Wade Boggs, you're going to have Kirby Puckett, you're going to have Canseco or McGuire and Donnie Baseball and Mattingly during those 80s. Those were the guys.
I mean, okay, rookie of the year number 3, MVP 21, MVP 6, MVP 3, MVP 3, MVP 7, MVP 7, MVP 2, MVP 7, MVP 21. He just was amazing across everything. I've never heard a single bad word. Everything was amazing about Kirby Puckett. And again, he was a guy I looked up to as a ball player. I remember watching him in the World Series, center field, just running everything down. And then from a hitting standpoint, he was a guy that could do everything. And he was scary in every single possible way. God, what a ball player.
Yeah, and
died at 45.
Died at 45, and what a shame, too, because it would have been so nice to have another African-American player that could reach out to young African-American kids right now and get them playing baseball more. We don't have enough of those guys, unfortunately. We still have Griffey, we have Bonds, we have McGriff, but we need more African-American players in baseball, and Kirby would have been just such a good guy to introduce more young black kids into baseball, and it's a shame we lost him so young.
Yeah, without a doubt. And he was, I believe, inner city Chicago. I remember reading a lot about him when I was younger. I believe inner city Chicago was an athlete in every single thing he did, and he had been an amazing ambassador for the game.
Thank you. That's the word.
He was. He was for when he was.
Yeah. All right. Up next, who is your next man up? And you have 2 of them. You have a guy that both of us believe got into the Hall of Fame way too early, and then in some cases, a guy who might have gotten into the Hall of Fame a little too late. So we got Joe Mauer and Bert Blyleven.
Bert Blyleven, a great pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. Absolute Dutch man. So I love it. But I believe he got into the Hall of Fame way too late. A lot of people believe he probably accumulated a lot of stats, pitched for a long time at the same time, pitched for a long time, ended up getting 287 wins, 250 losses. That's where you kind of look at it and go yeah, they're really close to each other. At the same time, was always very, very good and very dominant. Cy Young 7, Cy Young 3, Cy Young 3, Cy Young 4. So there was never those years. He never had it just that year where he was the best. And that's kind of where it kind of hurt him probably with a lot of the Hall of Fame stuff. He just never had those years where you're just he that's him. He's him. But he ended up pitching amazing, 3.28 ERA, 118 whip, 2,500 innings pitched with the Twins. Ended up winning 149 games with the Twins. Ended up traveling around a whole lot. Yeah. Hall of Famer 11. And then when you're talking about Joe Mauer.
Well, hold on. Before we go to Joe Mauer, I just have a couple quick things that I want to talk about Blyleven. I had the pleasure of getting to know Bert when I was working at MLB Network Radio. He's still, I believe, a broadcaster for the Minnesota Twins. And as a broadcaster, I had him on the show all the time. Super, super nice guy. Was always very nice. And I remember the day that he got into the Hall of Fame, we had him on, and he couldn't have been happier. I was so happy when he got in. But you mentioned the idea of being a compiler. I'm wondering, before we talk about Joe Mauer, just give me 30 seconds on this. Because pitchers do not last anymore, do you think that being a compiler will be something that'll get you into the Hall of Fame in the future? Because if you can last as a pitcher now and get those numbers, you almost should be in the Hall of Fame.
100%. And the Hall of Fame numbers are going to change a lot. Where 250 wins, it's guaranteed. 225 is probably guaranteed. Moving forward, you're looking at Justin Verlander has 260. And the next closest, I think, is Scherzer, 220 something or 217. The 200 win club is going to be the new 300 win club. And it's sad because of just it's Major League Baseball's choice and how they evaluate players. It's sad in how they're doing it, but it's going to be what it is.
All right. Let's move on to Joe Mauer, the Minnesota boy, the hometown kid, the guy that they were so ecstatic to get, who cost them a lot of money, but kind of, in my opinion, wasn't worth all that money. I know it's an unpopular position, but I never thought he was as good as people made him out to be.
I thought he was a good catcher, and he was a good bat-to-ball hitter. That I never once in my career was scared of him. Never once cared that he was at the plate other than the fact that he could get a base hit. And so if Justin Morneau wasn't behind him, Or I already faced Justin Morneau. I didn't care.
Yeah.
All right, Joe Mauer. Who cares? Joe Mauer, one of the lowest wins above replacement in Major League Baseball Hall of Fame history at 55. I get it. It's not the end all be all, but Aaron Judge already has more than him. Rob Ventura has more, or Hershiser. You want to go down this list, like Jeff Kent has more. Is a higher win above replacement. I would say had a lot more impact in the game. David Ortiz, who never even played in the field his last 10, 15 years, has the exact same. And so you get to some of these really interesting numbers. Ian Kinsler has about the same, and I wouldn't even consider him close to the Hall of Famer.
I wouldn't even give him a vote.
I never even thought Joe Mauer was that great at throwing out guys either. I never considered him a huge threat at the plate or in the mound. There was one year where he had 28 home runs, hit 365. Absolutely. Outside of that, the year before he hit 9, and the year after that he hit 9 home runs. He hit 320. It was the softest 320 by a huge human being ever. At the same time, very good player. Very good player. I had never considered him Hall of Famer, let alone first ballot Hall of Famer. I would say Hall of very good and definitely a conversation about it. But with up and down the list, there's a lot of other guys I'd sit back and be. I mean, Chris Sale has 53
first ballot. That's egregious.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to say it. He was a great guy. I would also say this: greatest high school athlete probably of all time. When you go up and down his stats, it is insane. It isn't even a word to use for how good he was in high school.
I'm having a complete mental fart right now, and I know that you pitched to him in spring training. Cardinals catcher, Yadi Molina. I mean, if you give me Yadi Molina, Buster Posey, or Joe Mauer, Joe Mauer's the third best out of that group.
Salvador Perez. Like, there's a lot of guys that I would have probably listed. Now, he was very good. He was always very good.
Very good. Nobody's doubting that. But when
outside of 1 year, never stood out to where I'm like, wow. Outside of that.
Finally, the guy who's on the team right now who has a chance to get in, and on your list, that is Royce Lewis.
I had a lot of hard time with this. I had a really tough time with this because there was no one that really jumps out to me. There's actually a player who I think is better. And who is that player, James?
Better in what terms?
A better baseball player on that team.
It's what's his face?
Byron
Buxton.
Byron Buxton is a much better baseball player and is the best player on that team, if not when healthy, one of the best players in the league. This dude can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field, and has no chance to make this list.
I would say that actually Correa might have a better chance of making that list than Royce Lewis.
No,
if he compiles enough.
No, because he's not a twin. And so that's Correa's career is already so far past.
I'm so sorry. I was thinking Hall of Fame rather than Mount Rushmore. You're 100% right. Forgive me. I apologize.
Gotcha. I smell what you're cooking. It gets interesting when you talked about some of these pitchers, maybe like Joe Ryan, if he ends up like keeps crushing it, if he's healthy and keeps killing it, because he's got pretty good stuff. But Royce Lewis, I just really love his stuff. I love his age. I love how he moves. It's really interesting. I think he's got pop for days. He just needs to put it together for a couple seasons and kind of get going. To me, it's just, it's really Byron Buxton, but he can't stay on the field. Ryan Jeffers is a stud, but again, just none of these guys have really put it together. None of them will make this list. But Joe Ryan is a really interesting one. Duran is an interesting one if he can just keep just shoving. But to me, I see Royce Lewis. There's some talent there that some of those other guys touch, but Royce Lewis can excel. Buxton is obviously the man. It's just he can't stay healthy. He's already 31. He can't stay healthy.
You know what player I always think about when I think about the Minnesota Twins, and he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. He's not even going to make the Mount Rushmore, but a guy who just doesn't get his just due in Twins history, Joe Nathan. I used to love watching that dude.
Yes. Ex-Giant Joe Nathan. You weren't ready for that one. Stud. Good. We were friends when we were playing. Lost contact once we stopped playing. We all just go back home and do our things. Right. But he was an absolute stud, and there was a lot of great players on those 2000s Twins teams. Just
I could never get past the Yankees.
So many good players that just couldn't get over the hump with the Yankees.
But yeah, Joe Nathan, I loved watching that guy pitch.
Dyer, Jesse Crane, Johan Santana.
Well, Johan Santana, the first pitcher to ever throw a no-hitter for the New York Metropolitans, who I'm desperately trying to get one of his. Excuse me. It's in the books. It's a no-hitter.
Today would have been Hall of Fame. Would have been a no-hitter if he did that 2025. Every ball landed exactly where it landed. Would it have been a no-hitter?
Absolutely not. But it's still a no-hitter in the books, just like Armando Galarraga. Just like Armando Galarraga doesn't have a perfect game that he threw a perfect game in.
Fact. And don't go back and change history either.
No, under any circumstances. All right, Dave, this is a fun one, man. I enjoyed this one. We got to talk a lot about stuff, and we got to talk about people that should get fired, people that aren't underappreciated, and you gave us a prediction when Ohtani could get back. I couldn't be any happier.
I love it. It's always fun.
Yep. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you like, make sure you comment, tell David why he is awesome in every way. Tell me why I'm just a loser. I'm totally fine with it. We will talk again next week. Bye-bye.